You know, I might have been inconsiderate about Frank's motivation for being into ancient Kemet, um, and that's probably why I perceived it as Afrocentric as opposed to Afro-Kemetic, or maybe I was considerate in perceiving it as Afrocentric instead of Afro-Kemetic because he was not from a Khmu cultural country, and that was obvious because he didn't really speak on any of the correlations between the Akan religious system and theocracy, and he didn't have much to say about it. But Frank was not pleased that his village was formed around the church, and he's Funty as well, so being from a people that sold out on other people, and then having a culture that's not not Camus, it could have been kind of twisted for Frank, but still people are territorial, and I mean, if a person has four fangs, they obviously territorial. I mean, like what type of creatures have four fangs? It's predatory creatures have four fangs. You know, not really bottom feeders, and human beings are certainly not bottom feeders. You know, human beings are apex predators. Period. And apex predators are territorial because this is how they're going to survive. This is their food supply. If people encroach on their territory, then people are most likely going after one of their most important things, which is the ability to survive by consuming nutrients. So, Frank probably wasn't pleased, but at the same time, like, thank you because, he said that when a king dies, they would just run through the streets and chop people up and sacrifice them. So it meant that the people didn't want to go willingly, but that happened in ancient Kemet as well, but not that way. When you study the death of a king and other people that are in a tomb, with the king or close to the king, or the fact that the king passed away, they're going to take some type of, I don't know, poison that takes your life or get sealed in something. They probably take some type of psychedelic and get probably even hashed up, and the tomb is sealed in. I mean, we're not even sure what type of practices that these people might have mastered because, the the king would have had to master these things and been. I mean, why was I so interested and knew that I needed to be in an organization like Ausar said is, it's like we're learning these practices that are very critical. Um, Different limbs of yoga and qigong, and one of those limbs being pranayama, but you know these are like the foundational practices that when you add the psychedelics, you're able to do things. So the king and the queen mothers and the high priest and I would even assume that the people that will be buried with the king would have been steeped in practices that would allow them to just get up and walk out their bodies.
I know everything gonna close.
You know? this is the type of perspective that Ra Nefermen was bringing to us, whether that was explicitly stated or not. And
I'm gonna run up in there right
the
now.
whole reason why Sekhmet told me that when I speak about Jesus Christ, speak about Astro theology, because when you get back to Kemet now, the king being a representative of that in the Christ figure and etc., because they're into these practices that the people in Asia and the people of India have really preserved. It's, because, Ra Nefermen would use terms like how you ride the dragon to heaven, and DLPA, the molecules or the electrons in the molecules of DLPA spin, I guess it would be counterclockwise. They spin in the opposite direction of other molecules, period. So he said that taking DLPA allows you to ride the dragon to heaven because the molecules or the electrons spin in the opposite direction of other amino acids and possibly other molecules. I mean, the whole idea of that causing you to enter into a transcendental state. It wasn't so much that DLPA was just nourishing your body's ability to produce dopamine. Those type of perspectives and those type of experiences are what the kings and queens are supposed to have, and that's why you have depicted on them the urit, or Mut the vulture as well, and I think it's also Nekabet and Wajet are depicted, and there's an image of the brain in ancient Egypt, and it shows how where the hemispheres of the brain meet at the top, the cranium, that there's a serpent, meaning how the brain is shaped. We see how the brain is shaped from that Jeffrey Dahmer movie, or that guy that eats people's brains or whatnot. I mean, yeah. Or we have an imagery, but it's stuck in my head. How the brain has it's like noodles, like thick noodles, but a serpent is like a thick noodle too, right? So the ancient Egyptians have a depiction of the top of the brain, and instead of the brain matter, it has these serpents. So obviously the kings being depicted and the queens being depicted with crowns that have serpents on them meant that they had done these Kundalini yoga practices, that they had done pranayama, that they were moving chi up to the crown chakras and up to the brain, to the point where this chi had become strong enough, thick enough that, and it's alive, had become a serpent, literally, meaning that maybe with spectral analysis you might see a serpent on a person's head, and that's more so why Medusa had her image as opposed to it being locks, because people are psychic and can see, and they'll see a serpent on a person's head because that person eats very well, and that person sublimates chi, and that person causes chi or makes sure that the chi moves to the crown chakras. Peace.